sprints out. Looking. Stops. In trouble, and he gets decked at the 30-yard line. Wow! What a hit! And that's Perrion Winfrey. Here's Mertz. In the pocket, and he gets crushed. Wow! Daxton Hill shot out of a cannon.
In reverse, into the hands of Presley. Presley, the wide receiver, just got lit up. J.L. Skinner laying the wood.
Welcome back to the Devy IDP Grind. I am Hollywood, and I'm joined by Justice. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Got the weekend off. Ready to
Well,
cut
that's always
back.
good, right? Get to watch some football.
Yeah, gonna watch some football. Kind of missed it last night, so I'm prepared to do nothing for the next 3 days but watch football. So
Well, that's good. And,
Rockwood couldn't join us tonight.
yesterday started with the 28 days or something of football every day.
Oh, I think so. Yeah. Because I think the what is it? The Maction starts and everything. All that starts
Next week, yeah.
Yeah. Good stuff. So, sorry, we're running a little late this week. We had some scheduling conflicts and all that good stuff, but we are here to get you ready for the upcoming week. We have a couple games tonight. Nothing too
Too exciting. ECU games
No,
not too bad.
Yeah, ECU at BYU. I don't know. I think ECU can go in there and pull this off. BYU's been reeling lately, so
Could be a high scoring affair.
yep. And then you got La Tech versus Florida International, who is just atrocious.
They are.
La Tech may. I was thinking about that when you said that before we got on. La Tech may run the board up on them. They may. FIU's rough.
Well, FIU did beat Charlotte pretty bad last week. I think that's what.
I know.
I think that's kind of what did Wheel Healy in, but yeah.
Yeah. So, couple, I guess you could say, snoozers tonight.
Well,
A lot
last
of
night's
teams
games
off
weren't
this
too
week.
bad.
So,
Yeah, a lot of buys this week.
no, last night's weren't.
I mean, the NC State Tech game was not – the first half was not great. The Utah-Washington State game was pretty decent, I thought. I mean, some offense. Utah defense played really well. Washington State defense played pretty good.
Yep, Utah won 21-17. NC State won 22-21. And then Southern Miss beat Louisiana 39-24. So
That's the only one of the three I did not see any of that game.
yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to see any of them last night. Time I got home, I was dead tired. So
I think I watched almost the entire Utah game till about probably like 5 minutes or so left. I was surprised Utah won with the backup quarterback.
I was too. When I woke up this morning and was checking some of the news, I saw he didn't play, and I was like, oh, shoot. And then I flipped over and saw the score, and I was like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, and there was no mention until after the game started that he wasn't playing because he was dressed, right? Cam Rising was dressed, and supposedly he warmed up and everything pregame. And
yeah, that's what I read. He was he was dressed. He went out and warmed up the whole 9 yards, and I'm not sure what the reason for it was, but he did not play. So, which is interesting.
They didn't need him, so
yeah,
worked out for him.
All right. So, for this week's news and notes, SMU freshman corner Jaden Lawton has decided to enter the transfer portal. Pretty good player, so be interesting to see where he he winds up. Oklahoma State defensive back Brandon Evers is foregoing the rest of the season to focus on the 2023 draft.
It just seems weird, right? 'Cause he does. I mean, he's not a name that I've heard a lot of talk about for the NFL draft. So
no, and this is touchy subject for me because I hate this. I really do. I understand why they do it. You know, Nick Bosa, McCaffrey, Fournette.
yeah, a guy like that, sure, but this dude, like, I mean, like, I feel like he's lucky if he gets drafted at all.
Right. But I'm just saying in general, I hate that, right? I mean, if you're that worried about getting injured and costing yourself money, then don't even start the season. Don't even play a game with them.
Take out an insurance policy.
That too. I mean, to me, that's just saying, well, we're not a national championship contender. I'm going to peace out, boys. I'm going to focus on the NFL. That's
right.
kind of, that's basically what it's telling me. I would have, if I was your teammate and you come and said, boys, I'm not going to play this year. I'm going to focus on the NFL. I might be a little upset, but I get it, right? Other than you just coming in and playing 6, 7, 8 games and then all of a sudden, well, I'm out. This is yours now. Yeah. So I've always had an issue with that. It just strikes me wrong. I think if you start, you should finish unless you just physically can't, or there's a personal issue not allowing you to just give up more or less. And it strikes a nerve. Justice strikes a nerve.
Yeah. Well, it's probably something we're going to be seeing more and more in the coming weeks, right? As we get closer towards the end.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we will, but nothing I can do about it. So, Tennessee safety Jalen McCullough sat out the game against UT Martin. Not sure if he's going to be back this week.
I haven't seen an update on him. I saw where Tillman's supposed to come back, but
yeah, Tillman is supposed to come back. I'm just not sure on McCullough. That's a pretty big blow to our defense. Not that he was great or special, but he was experienced and was helping. So now we've got a lot of guys that are inexperienced, and it showed last week, even against Tennessee Martin, right? We had some struggles there. So we could use him, but only if he's cleared and done the things he needs to do. So we'll see. I've not heard any updates on him either, so I'm not exactly sure. Nebraska linebacker Nick Henrich will miss the rest of the season with a knee injury. I like him. I thought he was a pretty decent linebacker for the Huskers.
Yeah,
nothing special, but he gets after it and plays. So
him and Reimer, they're kind of like the two that most people will probably, are probably rostered in league. So that's a big blow.
Right. Yeah. Texas A&M defensive back Denver Harris was one of 3 Aggies suspended indefinitely for reportedly smoking weed in the locker room. Now that's just dumb. I mean, really, come on.
Yeah. And
they deserve to be suspended. It's one thing to do it as a college kid wherever, but just right there in the locker room, come on, how dumb do you have to be?
I heard, and they said he's suspended for the rest of the year, along with a defensive lineman, Anthony Lucas. Harris was and defensive lineman Donnell Harris. So Denver Harris was a 5-star. Donnell Harris was a 4-star, and Anthony Lucas were both was a 4-star as well. And then there were 2 others, 5-star Chris Marshall, wide receiver, and offensive lineman PJ Williams.
Oh wow!
And there's rumors that 4-star running back LJ Johnson and 4-star defensive back Dayon Bowie quit the team and are not welcome back. And then I've also seen where Gabriel Brownlow-Dendy is possibly talking about entering the portal at the end of the year.
There's the first one. We've been talking about it. I told you it was coming. You can't. it's hard to have, which is kind of makes Alabama a little more. Got to give him praise, right, for keeping all these. But when you have that many high recruits, 5 stars, especially at the same position, all along that defensive line, they're going to come in there and say the right things and do the right things, but because they're going to want to see, right, where do I fit in this pecking order? And once it starts shaking itself out, that's when they get antsy and wow. So Brownlow Diddy.
The other thing too, like it makes you wonder,
He's
like
a good player too.
All this NIL money, like players are coming for the money and no other reasons, and maybe that's a bad thing, right? They're just there. They're just there to get that money, and that's it.
Right. Well, that's interesting. That's really interesting that he's the first one to want to leave. So I got to imagine there's going to be maybe a couple others because even if they keep recruiting, something's got to happen. So, but Brownlow Diddy I watched some of his high school tape. He's a really good player. He would be. I'd like to see Tennessee try to go after him. He'd be a good pass rusher for them.
Yeah.
And being a 5-star, I imagine there's going to be a lot of people after
a lot of super for him. Yeah. It'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Fisher, right? Because I mean, they've spent all this money and they got nothing to show for it. And
is he on a short leash? You think?
Well, I think so, but man, the buyout
snowballing on him right now is the thing.
The buyout's massive for him.
Yeah, but everything's kind of snowballing, right? Him and Saban had words, and then there was the recruiting things that you kind of heard rumblings, and now they're losing, and
he's kind of lost control of the locker room.
Yeah, so now you got a 5-star wanting to hit the portal after the season, so this is going to be interesting, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But like you said, with the buyout being so big, it might be. I'm not exactly how those buyouts work, but when they're big like that, it really makes it hard for any team, NFL or college or whatever. It kind of handcuffs the organization on what they can do, right? So
yeah. Yeah, I'm sure, and if they do it now versus say December, it could mean a couple $1 million. I mean, I don't know. It's usually the end of the year when it reduces. So,
right, and maybe this is something. Like I said, it's snowballing on him, right? So maybe this is something they are going to have. Maybe they're having the same discussions, right? And they're going to say, "Well, let's just let him ride the season out." Let him finish it out.
Right.
See if he can turn this thing around, or whatever, and we'll reassess it at the end of the year and go from there.
Right, because it's not
really
like you're going to hire somebody right now anyway. So
exactly, that's what I was fixing to say. You've got nothing to gain by really cutting him now. So just wait till the end of the year, like you said. Maybe save you a few extra million if that's what you inevitably do. But we've seen it before, Scott Frost canned him right in the middle of the season, right? So, yeah. It does happen. I was just curious because, after the last few years he's done really well, and now here we are, and you cover up a lot of things when you're winning, right? It's when you start losing is where
winning.
When you start losing is when the ship starts sinking. Holes are unplugged and cracks start to open up, and yeah.
Absolutely.
So
winning cures all.
It does. I don't care what anybody says. It covers everything. Because people are willing to look the other way when you're winning on anything. So
right, they're going to overlook everything.
Yep. Oh, that's okay. That's just something small. We're 7-0 or we're 6-1. We've been to the college football playoffs 3 or 4 years in a row. So yeah, you're right. They overlook a lot of stuff. And how quickly they forget when you're not winning too, right?
Yeah.
It goes
it don't
both
take
ways.
long.
No, it does not. It does not. Georgia safety Dan Jackson suffered a stress fracture, and he's likely out for the season. Speaking of head coaches and firing, Charlotte fired their head coach, Will Healy, and they named Pete Rosamondo, their offensive line coach, as their interim coach. So, note to self, don't lose to FIU.
Yeah,
or you will get fired.
I mean, they weren't having a great year to begin with, but
had they won a game yet?
Charlotte, yeah, they've won. I think they're like one.
No, not Charlotte. FIU.
Oh, I don't know. That might have been their first win.
That's what I'm thinking. So again, coaches, don't lose to FIU. You're gonna be jobless.
Let's see. Conference USA.
Yeah.
And then, no, they've won 3. They're 3-4.
Oh,
so
wow.
that was their first conference win. Charlotte's 1-7. Charlotte's 1-7.
Eesh. So that was the straw that broke the camel's back right there. FIU. Yeah. Okay. Big 12 commissioner says Oklahoma and Texas will remain in the league through 2025 before going to the SEC. So I wonder if that's a ploy to say to get more money for them to leave early, or if
it's something, I don't know, right? Yeah.
I have to imagine the SEC and Texas and Oklahoma are ready to do this now.
Well, I'm sure, but well, I mean, maybe Oklahoma and Texas aren't in such a hurry now after their crappy seasons.
Well, maybe. And it's just hard for me to believe that the Big 12 would want to keep 2 teams that's going to leave.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they're hoping, like, one of them can make it to the championship game or the playoff before they leave, so they can get some of that money. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. 247 Sports named the University of New Mexico A.J. Halsey the true freshman of the week. The New Mexico Lobo put up an eye-popping 24 tackles. 8 of them were soft, 1 interception, and a tackle for a loss in a loss to Fresno State last week. 24 tackles.
Yeah, Brock and I were talking about him the other day, and I knew he had the big game, but I mean, he hasn't done, other than that game, he's done pretty decent too, Yeah. I mean, he's not had 24 tackles, but 8 or 9 tackles a game. So,
and that's pretty impressive for a true freshman.
Yeah.
And considering that I saw today that the record is 30.
Yeah, Jason Henderson had 21 again. I think it's the second time this year he's had 21.
Yeah, so, yeah, very interesting. And man, you were talking about this was just crazy. So Weber State, they gave up 4 safeties last weekend when the center snapped the ball over the punter's head into or through the end zone. 4 safeties.
Yeah,
this occurred on 4 different occasions. Yeah, 4 separate occasions, giving Montana State 8 points. Okay, so they got 8 points. Yes, so they got the ball back. They scored a safety and immediately got the ball back because that's the rule, right? So,
yeah,
8 points, 4 extra possessions in the same game. As bad as Weber State was, Abraham Williams for them returned a kickoff for 100 yards for a touchdown. And Hudson Schneck took a punt return 91 yards for a touchdown. It gets better. So Weber State also blocked a 39-yard field goal attempt. And after everything was done, number 5 Weber State lost to number 2 Montana State by 43-38 margin.
That's
four
crazy,
safeties. Yeah, 4 safeties, a kick return for a touchdown, a punt return for a touchdown, and a blocked field goal.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever heard of that much craziness in a single game.
Yeah. And I guess they can meet again in the playoffs, right? So.
Oh yeah, because they're both national FCS powerhouses. Number 5 versus number 2. So, and number 5 was the one that lost. I'm sure they fell down the rankings a little bit, but they're a pretty solid team.
I'm assuming North Dakota State's number 1, probably.
No, I think it's South Dakota State, actually. I'll check on that, though. I'm almost positive it's South Dakota State. Yes, South Dakota State's 1. Montana State, let's say South Dakota State is 1 at 7-1.
Yeah.
Montana State is 7-1 at number 2. Sacramento State is 3 at 7-0. North Dakota is 4th at 5-2. And then Jackson State is 5th at 7-0. And
the thing about Jackson State, though, they won't play in the playoffs, right? Won't they? Don't they always skip the playoffs and play in that bowl game?
I don't know. I'm not exactly sure.
I feel like that's what normally happens.
Chattanooga's 6th at 6-1.
Weber State dropped to 7th.
Yep, Weber State dropped to 7th. So yeah,
and they played number 10 Montana this week.
Oh, that should be a good game.
Weber State plays number 2 Montana State. Oh
no, that was last week.
Yeah, it's last week.
But yeah, that's
number 10 plays number 10 Montana plays Weber State this week.
So another top 10 matchup. Yeah. Yep. So interesting stuff there. That does it for our news and notes. Before we move on to our players of the week, we want to thank 24/7, a locally owned gambling site for Tennesseans by Tennesseans. They've got all the odds just like the big boys do. It's a nice, clean, easy to site. They got everything from professional to college, from football to ping pong, darts, hockey, baseball, basketball, soccer, racing, F1, AAA baseball, like I said, college football and basketball, you name it, they got it. So go check them out. They're all the time running specials. If you follow them on social media, they're always giving away free bets and stuff. So they do that stuff too. If you don't like to gamble, they got a free site. It's completely free, cost you nothing. You just go in there and pick, and you can win money and prizes there too. So I use it a lot. It's real, like I said, it's nice, clean site, fun, easy to use, no issues at all. So when you support them, you're supporting us, and we thank you for that. If you're a first-time depositor, use Hollywood 100 as the promo code, and they'll match you up to $400. So if you put in 400, they're going to give you 400. That's 800 to gamble with, and I don't know of any gambling site that does that. So go check them out, and hopefully you win big, and we thank you for supporting us. Our players of the week, since Choppy's not here, he picked Yazir Abdullah, Louisville, in a 24-10 win over Pittsburgh. 7 tackles, 4 solos, a sack, 2 for a loss, an interception, and a forced fumble. That's probably one of his better games of the year. Because I actually had him in one of our Campus to Canton leagues, and I wound up dropping him because he really hadn't done anything. So
he had compared to last year, he had been having a disappointing year.
Yes. Then for me, if you've been following my IDP Devy portfolio articles on IDPNation.com page, you've heard this name before. Defensive end Carl Brooks, Bowling Green, in a 34-18 win over Central Michigan. 3 tackles, 3 solos, 3 sacks, 3 TFLs, and a forced fumble. I've been telling everybody we're in conference play. That's a weak conference. That's got Akrons and Bowling Greens and whatever. He's going to win some people some games. And check out the article that'll be coming out later today. I've put him back on there again because I think he was only owned or rostered in like 12% of leagues. And a player that's scoring that many points, that's criminal. That's just asinine to me that people don't pick these players up. It's like they don't know the name, and the big names ain't always going to win it for you, right?
Right. No, a lot of times the high college producers are a group of 5 guys.
Right.
From the smaller schools. They're generally speaking the higher producers.
Right. And now we come to you and your IDP player of the week.
Mine was defensive end Owen Porter from Marshall. They beat JMU this week, 26-12. He had 9 total tackles. 5 of those were solos. He had 3.5 sacks, 3.5 tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. So he had a pretty big game for Marshall with the upset over JMU. The JMU's lost 2 games in a row now. So welcome to big boy football, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, they started off really well. 5-0 or 6-0, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
they were ranked 25th.
Yeah, and that's good. Your first year jumping up, being able to do that, that really shows how strong your program is, right? To be able to make that leap in year one and be ranked, but like you said, welcome to Division I, right?
And I think that's the difference. I mean, I know when Old Dominion moved up, the biggest thing is the depth. You just don't like your first team might be as good as everybody else's, but that's it. Like when you start getting into the second and third team guys, the depth just isn't there. And so as the season goes on, I mean, I think that's what JMU is experiencing is they just don't have the depth to keep up.
And even for some of the big boys like Tennessee the last few years, they had number 1 recruits and top 5-star guys, but they didn't have the depth behind them. And it shows when like you said, when you don't have that depth or even quality depth, you don't have to have 5 stars like Bama does all the way through. It helps. Don't get me wrong. It helps.
But
just to be able to compete at this level, you have to have solid depth from starters all the way through your backups to your back end guys. And if you don't, like you said, it stands out in a big way. So I think they'll do all right though. I don't see them having a losing season by any means. And I think their recruiting will get better now that they're up a level, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think I mean they were a solid program at FCS. I think they'll be a solid program in FBS. So yeah, I mean, the only thing that now there's 5 FBS schools in Virginia. So you got to wonder, is that how that's gonna play out, with recruiting and all that. With you got UVA and Tech obviously getting the cream of the crop, and you got Liberty, Old Dominion, and JMU fighting for everybody else. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out long term.
Yeah, and I have to think.
And a lot of JMU's game in the past has been getting transfers too. So we'll see if that continues.
Right. But I have to think teams like Virginia Tech and Virginia being kind of down this year, that's going to help the JMUs, right? That's Old Dominion, whatever. That's going to help you guys because you can play on that and say, hey, well, we're in Division I now.
Right. We beat them this year or whatever.
Right. Yeah. You can still stay home, and we were better than they were a year ago. So
but
I think that's definitely going to help you.
Virginia. I mean, neither school looks good. Virginia Tech or UVA. Hi. Yeah.
Right. So we are up to your power rankings that you've created or put together for us for the Devy IDP Grind Campus to Canton Listener League.
Last week was a very sad week for me. So my day started off going to the ODU football game. Great time. Around halftime, I get a phone call from my wife that I need to come home right now. Water heater. My water heater busted, and it's in the attic. So,
goodness gracious.
So I left the ODU game at halftime, get home, clean that mess all up. Catch the very end enough to watch ODU lose the game to Georgia Southern, which is disappointing.
Right.
Only to be trumped by that on Saturday or Sunday morning when I'm working on the IDP scores for this listener league, and all good things must come to an end. So I had a 20-game win streak. I was undefeated, had not lost in the league yet on the college side, and that all crashed and burned on Saturday. I guess I found out about it late Sunday night. And the really disappointing thing is I had the second highest score for the week in the league. I just happened to play the guy with the highest score. And I think both of us put up the two highest scores all season in the league.
Wow.
My defense did its job, put up the highest defensive total so far in the league, but I lost by like a little less than 7 points. So it was like 6.8 points. So yeah. So it was a disappointing week, but life goes on.
And that was to Banterman, right? FF Banterman.
Yes. So we were both undefeated in the league. We were both 7-0, and now I'm 7-1, and he's 8-0. He's the only undefeated team left. The other undefeated team was Choppy, and Choppy lost last. You beat Choppy last week, so
yeah, I did.
So let's look at how that affects.
I like this shakeup of the rankings because for the last few weeks it's been ho hum, same old crap. Me and Banterman, we come in and wreck the party this week.
You did. Well, good or bad for me, my team is still number one in the power rank, despite losing. But FF Banterman UMass, he moved up from 4th place last week all the way to 2nd after beating me. Choppy, after losing to Hollywood this week, dropped from 2nd to 3rd.
That's right.
Dougie, who did win, he still dropped a spot because UMass beat me. So that helped UMass, and they moved up. So Dougie dropped from 3rd to 4th. Cincinnati, Dwight Peebles stayed 5th. Penn State, Colin Decker moved up from 7th to 6th. Hollywood, with the big win over Choppy and knocking him off from the undefeated ranks, moved up from 8th to 7th.
And I'm just 1/10 of a point from moving up 2 spots. I'm right on Decker's ass this week.
Yep, you are. Penn, T-Dubs dropped from 6th to 8th. Mr. Big Time Kyle moved up from 9th. He was 10th last week.
Oh, look at Kyle moving up.
Yeah, but there's a clear top 8. Looks like in the league based on the power ranks.
Yeah,
because from 8th to 9th there's kind of a big drop off there. Dropping to 10th is Austin in Pittsburgh. Staying 11th is Texas A&M New Fantasy. 12th remained the same with Daffod, Tulane. Canuck 49er remained 13th. Syracuse, Jay Haggart remained 14th. Washington, Barry Baker's 15th. And Con Norton is 16th.
It's Connor 10.
Well, me and Choppy go back and forth every week. Connor 10 or Con Norton. So
At some point, I'm
takes
going to
care
have
of
to
the.
ask him how that's actually pronounced. But for now, I like it.
Yeah, I was actually. I mean, I think the reason my team stayed number one is because I scored so many points. Right, even though I did lose, I scored the second highest points in the league. So I'm guessing that's the reason why I stayed number one.
Yeah, most likely. Especially with your defense scoring that high, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm loving it. Moved up a spot. See, I was just giving you boys a head start. That's all I was doing. Just
I think
trying to let y'all.
I think we need to figure out how to incorporate this in the league somehow in the future. Maybe we use this to determine playoffs or something. I don't know.
Oh,
Right
that
now
would be
it's just
cool.
right now it's just for fun, but maybe it's because in a league this size we don't play everybody, right? You can't play everybody.
Right. What did you say my
So,
defense scored this week?
I don't off the top of my head, I don't know, but I can look it up real quick.
Because my offense scored really good this week. I had
your defense scored pretty good too.
I had 224 out of my offense. So it looks like I guess you've already adjusted for the tackles.
Let's see.
So I guess my defense scored 205. Is that right?
Your defense scored 203 and a half. It was the second highest defense. Mine was the only one that outscored you on defense. So
you're damn right. Second highest defense. See, Hollywood knows what he's doing. Shoot,
you moved up to 6 overall rank in defense.
It was your
highest output. It was your highest output on defense of all year.
Yeah, I had to make some changes. It was
before this week. Your highest defensive total was 140 and a half.
Yeah, I had to make some changes. I sat down this past week and I was like, you're not even going to make the playoffs if you don't do something. So I sat down and looked at the waivers, looked at the rosters. I even looked at my NFL roster to see, is there a position I'm strong at that maybe I can cut somebody on the campus side that is kind of underperforming. So I sent out a couple offers and didn't get anything back. So
I made a snafu that helped you too. Still kicking
I have no
myself.
idea what you're talking about.
I dropped. I asked. Yeah. I
was like, oh no, he didn't.
Yeah, man. For some reason I don't know if it happens to you, but my fan tracks lag sometimes.
Oh, my fan tracks is horrible. Don't even get me started.
And when that happens, I pay a lot closer attention now. But like you click on a guy to drop him, and what happened to me was, as I guess because it was lagging, it clicked on the guy above him instead of the guy I actually clicked on, and so I ended up dropping like probably one of the top running backs in the league from a college perspective, and so Hollywood was a beneficiary.
But I was like, oh no, he didn't.
Yeah.
Click.
I've double and triple checked now because
Well, I'll tell you what's helped me the last 2 weeks on offense has been this rocket ship emergence of Jalen Hyatt the last 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, he's gone crazy, right?
Yeah, he has gone freaking bonkers. Now my one scare is when Cedric Tillman comes back.
What happens?
Do they go? Yeah, do they go away from him? But I've kind of got the feeling I don't think they're going to. I think Ramel Keaton, who's stepped up as well, I think he's the one that's kind of going to suffer maybe a little bit.
Well, I would think Brew McCoy first, probably, because I think.
Well, yeah, Brew. Then I think Ramel Keaton, because I think Preston Fance found a role. If you watched last week, they lined him up at fullback and he scored 2 touchdowns. So I think he's kind of built himself something a little different, right? He's a tight end playing some fullback, so I don't think that really hurts him. But man, if Hyatt can continue to play like this and they can get Cedric Tillman back and still have Brew McCoy and Ramel Keaton, whew.
Yeah,
I can't wait till tomorrow night. I cannot wait till tomorrow night. You just don't know at the Kentucky fans in my DMs right now that I'm absolutely freaking blasted. And it ain't going to get any better between now and 7 o'clock tomorrow night. I'm just telling you.
Well, I certainly hope you guys win because I want to see you beat Georgia too.
We got to get by the Cats first. Georgia's going to be tough. Because
that game's in Georgia, right? It's not in Tennessee, right?
No.
It's in Georgia, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I thought you were talking about this Saturday.
It's on the Georgia game.
Yeah. Tomorrow's in Neyland, then we go to Georgia. So yeah, but we've done it before down there. Jawan Jennings and the big catch in the end zone to beat them a few years back, which is funny because I had my oldest son at the time. That's been 4 or 6 years ago, whatever that was. We've been there and they scored a touchdown late and then we beat them on a Hail Mary. And I was actually in Greenville on the sideline coaching youth football and had the earpiece in and forgot where I was at listening to the game and screamed out loud during the game.
Nice.
So yeah. So yeah, I'm moving up the power rankings. That's right.
You are. Yeah.
I am. I'm just.
I don't know. Who do you play this week? Do you know? Who do you play this week?
I do know. I was just looking at that.
I think I played Tulane.
Yes.
You play Penn Quaker, so that's another chance for you to move up.
Who?
You play the Penn Quakers.
Oh yeah. Where are they at in their power rankings here?
They are. They're 8th.
Right behind me.
Right behind you. So.
Oh yeah, it's T-Dubs. I'm beating him like he stole something this week. That's happening. Oh yeah. So y'all done got me fired up. Let the shit talking begin from here on out.
UMass plays Penn State. That's a big one.
That will be a good game, yeah.
Dougie plays Cincinnati. That's another big one.
Yeah,
those are probably the two biggest.
We got some big matchups this week, actually.
Choppy plays Mr. Big Time.
I'm gonna have to get on Kyle. Tell him if he loses to Choppy, he's fired.
Yeah, that's Cincinnati, Dwight and Dougie. That should be a good one.
It's that will be a good one.
4 and 5. Yeah, number 4 and 5 playing each other, and then number 2 and number 6 play each other. So
yeah, I need Banter Man to win this week. Move Decker on out of the way. Get those Campus to Canton boys out of my way.
Well, yeah, you got 2 of them in front of you, right in front of you.
Yeah, I got 2 of them in front of me.
Colin and Dwight.
Oh yeah, I already got Davy Dietz behind me. So yeah. You know what'd be cool? Just sitting here thinking about it. Off the top of my head. If we had a league that was like Campus to Canton versus Dig.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. You know where I'm going? And have like all Dig.
You gotta let me and Choppy help you with the offense, though.
Yeah. Really? What an asshole.
I mean, well, our defense is pretty good too. Me and Choppy, like we're 1 and 2 in defense in the league. So,
but yeah, like get a Campus to Canton crew, let them do their own league somehow, and us do a Devy IDP Grind league somehow.
And
both of them would be, and both of them be offense, defense, and then like the winners of each league face off for some kind of prize. I think that'd be cool. Who's better, Campus to Canton or Devy IDP Grind?
Well, based on this year, based on the standings in this league, we are because we're 1, 3, and 7.
7, yeah.
They're 5, 6, and 10.
Yeah, and I ain't even get my stride yet. I'm just now getting warmed up. The rust is off. Yeah, I'm gonna put that on the back burner. That might be something we try to. I'm sure we'd have some interest.
Yeah, just got to figure out a way to do it. Yeah, for sure.
His crew versus our crew. Gang fight.
That's what it
flashing
sounds like.
gang signs and everything, Campus to Canton, I know. I'm an idiot. And now we are up to the Fantasy IDP corner for week 8.
Week 8.
With Justice. I love these, by the way. I love these.
I like them. Sometimes I think it gets a little old because sometimes it's the same player over and over, but
I mean, how many times have I said it? And I know I've said it on Kyle Show. Sometimes you get fantasy managers that are just, they don't know, right? And maybe this is somebody new tuning in for the first time and they're hearing this and they're like, oh, okay. But I do enjoy it. I think it's one of my favorite things on here, and probably one of the favorite things in fantasy that we do or you do. Just hearing, because a lot of times you said it, it's like a repeat, right? Saying names over and over sometimes.
Right.
But to me, when I hear you repeating the same name in multiple different leagues or multiple weeks in a row, to me, that's telling me, hey,
it's a guy we look
this
for.
dude's pretty damn consistent. This is somebody I should probably look at either trying to pick up or trade for, right?
Yeah.
It's not like it's a one-hit wonder or a one-week wonder, where you're chasing points or you've missed out on a chance or something. And then I also listen for you to say names that are already on my team, right? Am I hearing somebody on my team? Is there somebody that you're saying week after week that maybe, hey, I should really, really hold on to? Or is this somebody I can capitalize on in a trade and get some pieces that maybe I need or something, If I'm super stacked in the NFL side at linebacker, is there a linebacker that you're saying every week that maybe not be even in my best 4 on the NFL side? Maybe I can trade him now and get something that can help me. So, which I do agree with you. Sometimes I think it feels repetitive and seems repetitive, but I think with these lists, that's something I've learned to do is think outside the box. What is this meaning to me? Not to everybody else, but what is it meaning to me? Okay. Either I'm hearing my players' names repeated, their consistency. I'm not hearing my players named. That's another thing, right? Well, I thought this guy was pretty good, and I'm not hearing his name at all. Right. So I've always heard and it's true, you can take numbers and stats and whatever, and you can twist and turn them to look good or bad for you either way, right? And I think these lists, lists kind of do the same thing. You can turn them and twist them to make your players look good or bad, but the one thing that the common ground is they're all helpful. It's a tool, like a trade calculator or whatever. I'm not the biggest fan of the trade calculator. I admit it. I hate them. I don't use them. But I know people that do, and they live and swear by them, right? They won't make a trade without running it through a calculator. I just think it's another tool that fantasy managers can use to help their teams and all that stuff. So that's why I like it so good. Not to ramble on, but I love these.
No, you're good. No. All right. So, in the Devy IDP Grind C2C Listener League, the top started players, 16-team league, the top defensive end, who I'm pretty sure has defensive end and linebacker eligibility in Fantrax, was Leighton Jordan from Temple. Seminoles Dougie with 40 points. He had a really big game last week. He had a couple sacks. He had a pick six, I think a 39-yard pick six TD. So paid off for Dougie last week. The top defensive tackle was Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame, owned by Penn State Colin from Campus Canton with 23 points. The top linebacker was Anthony Orgy Vanderbilt, owned by the Penn Quakers, Tim W., 33.5 points. This next one really burns me because his huge week led to my demise. The top safety was John Torchio from Wisconsin, owned by UMass FF Banterman. 38.8 points. The top cornerback was Alex Austin, Oregon State, also owned by Penn State, Colin from C2C, with 26.4 points. Now, here's something I found a little bit interesting. So my team was the top team scorer for the week with 231 points, which to me was just more impressive by the fact that I did not have any of the top scorers at any of the positions. So
Nice.
the top team total for the season so far is Old Dominion, which is my team, with 505.5 points. New this week, so it's always been Choppy's been in second. Choppy's not in second anymore. Our buddy Dougie's in second place now in the league.
You're welcome, Dougie. I did that for you, buddy.
Choppy dropped to third in IDP points. He's 200.1 points behind me, and Hollywood moved up to sixth in IDP points, 399 points behind me. The next league is a Choppy league. Campus to Canton is a 20-team league. Top defensive lineman Isaiah Foskey, once again, Notre Dame, once again owned by Penn State, and Colin from Campus to Canton with 23 points.
We've not heard a lot of this year is Isaiah Foskey, right?
No,
Coming into this year, a lot of people thought he was going to be one of the biggest IDP stars there was, right?
Yeah,
and
he's had a solid year, but
not like what everybody expected.
Yeah. Top linebacker, once again, Anthony Orji, Vanderbilt, Coastal Carolina, Dwight from C2C, 33.5 points. Once again, the nemesis top defensive back, John Torchio, Wisconsin, Army, 33.5 points. It was a good week for me for IDP scores anyway. My team had the top score for week 8 in this league with 181 points. Season total, though, Choppy is still leading the league with 1,044.5 points. I am in second. I am 29 points behind Choppy, and Hollywood is in 13th, 308.9 points behind Chop. And Choppy's other C2C league, Fantasy Football Legends, 16-team league. Once again, the top defensive lineman, Isaiah Foskey, Notre Dame, owned by Dooge, East LA Lunatics, 23 points. Top linebacker, Anthony Orji, Vanderbilt, North Park Cowboys, Steve J, 33.5 points. And the top defensive back, once again, John Torchio, Wisconsin, Springfield Isotopes, 33.5 points. My team was the top scoring IDP team for week 8 with 179 points, South Park Cows. And in the season total, I overtook Choppy for first place this week. So,
hey,
South Park Cows, my team, is number 1 and 1101.2 points. Choppy is in second, 30.6 points behind me. And Hollywood is in seventh, 334.2 points behind me. And in this last league, it's a league with a lot of the Campus to Canton contributors and founders. I'm the only one of the three of us that's in this league. It's called Toonland. There's 24 teams in the league. Top defensive lineman, once again, Isaiah Foskey, Notre Dame. Thundercats, Travis with 30 points. Now here's a new name, finally. Top linebacker, Corvin Moment, Western Michigan. Transformers, Rob A, 36.5 points. And this is not a new name, but at a new position. This guy has linebacker and defensive back eligibility in Fantrax. And that is Anthony Orji, Vanderbilt, owned by myself, Captain Caveman, Justice, 36.5 points. The top IDP team score week 8 was my team, Captain Caveman, with 181.5 points. Season total, my team is leading it for IDP season total. Captain Caveman with 1151.6 points. And in second place is Rocky and Bullwinkle, Steve J, 31.08 points behind.
So
now,
I don't know if I've asked you, but do you prefer, like, for your IDP leagues, do you prefer the general position, like defensive line, linebacker, defensive backs, or do you like the position specifically? So where you have to start corners, you have to start.
I like the variety. I like a mix of both.
See, I like the position specific.
Well, on the college side, it's not as big a deal, I think, as the NFL side, just because Fantrax has so much eligibility, right?
Right.
Generally speaking, a guy's eligible at safety is also eligible at cornerback in Fantrax.
Yep.
On the NFL side, obviously, it adds a different twist. I do enjoy it on the NFL side probably a little bit more because it's a different strategy, right? I mean, the guys don't have dual eligibility; they're either a cornerback or a safety.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I enjoy it, and I enjoy a variety. I think, again, on the NFL side, it adds a bit of a different type of challenge. Because in the general leagues, most defensive tackles and most cornerbacks are never going to be rostered.
Right.
And so it adds a different strategy. So I enjoy that aspect of it.
Okay. I was just curious. I know I try to ask everybody that, and there's such a mixed bag, right? A lot of people like the generalization of positions where you've basically got three positions. And then there's a lot like me who like the specificness of it, right? You have to start a D tackle, a DB end, a linebacker, a corner, and a safety. It's just that, to me, that's just more appealing. It's a little bit more of a challenge, I guess.
Yeah.
For me. I was just curious what your thoughts was on it. Or what you like the most.
I do enjoy it. Like I said, I think I enjoy it on both sides, right? Just from the simple standpoint of it's more like real football, right?
Right. Yeah, I think that's the appeal to me, really, is it's more real life football, right? Because you're trying to fill certain positions and
I enjoy being able to start more defensive players.
Right.
I enjoy that aspect of it. So, all right. The top IDP scorers for Week 8, regardless of if anyone started them in our leagues or not. The top defensive lineman happened to be the same guy I picked for Player of the Week. That was Owen Porter from Marshall with 38.5 points. The top linebacker was Anthony Orji from Vanderbilt with 33.5 points. And the top defensive back was Brandon Johnson from Duke with 44.8 points. Looking at season totals, we have actually, I believe, 3 new names this week. So the top overall players for the season through Week 8. The top defensive lineman on the year is Levi Bell from Texas State with 90 points. He is rostered in 30% of Fantrax leagues. This next one, he needs to be rostered if he's not. Top linebacker is Sean Dolak from Buffalo, 152 points. He's only rostered in 9% of the leagues. And he's someone that should be around next year too. James Patterson, we talked about it in the last episode. James Patterson leaving. That bodes well for Dolak next year. And the top defensive back is Nico Bolden from Kent State, 117 points, and he's rostered in only 4% of the leagues. And as Hollywood and I were talking earlier, all 3 of those guys, they're all small schools, and they're leading the positions in fantasy points. So it pays to pay attention to those smaller schools.
Yeah, and like I was talking about Carl Brooks a few minutes ago, you really have to. You owe it to your teams yourself to look at them, because those are the type of players, while everybody's chasing the Bama players and the Clemson players, and you can get these smaller conference school players and they're going to have just as big of games, if not bigger, because they're playing weaker competition, right?
Yep.
And they can really not only change your team, they can change your season. They can make you a legit contender if you're in the playoffs. So, yeah, I'm with you. You pay attention to everything that we're saying, whether it's, our players of the week or Justice's top over, where he's like he's doing now, where he's breaking down top overall players, or, our leagues are, well, I don't play in that league. Well, maybe you don't play in these leagues, but you should take those names and go to your league and see if they're available. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, I would venture to guess that the leagues we're in, as far as IDP goes, they're some of the toughest around.
Yeah, I would agree.
Because
Absolutely.
a lot of times the guys we talk about, they're all rostered in our leagues.
Right.
But like Hollywood said, if you're interested in getting more information, Hollywood puts out articles on the IDP Nation page. In addition, I have every week I update the yearly scores for IDP on the Campus to Canton website. And I break it down by defensive line, linebackers, and defensive backs. So you can use that to find, free agents in your league. You can go down that list and say, okay, well, maybe number 1 and number 2 overall are rostered, but number 3 isn't. I know I use it, and I know others use it. Use those lists to find free agents. In addition to telling you the top scores, it also tells you what the 24/7 stars and what the recruiting class was as well, to help you in your Campus to Canton league. So, in addition to listening to us here on the podcast, check out IDP Nation for the articles that Hollywood puts out, and check out Campus to Canton, where you'll find all this IDP scoring information to help you in those leagues.
Yep. Good stuff. So looking, we kind of mentioned it earlier, looking ahead to week 9, was there anything else in week 8 that stood out to you?
No, I didn't. Once again, ODU had a home game, and then I had to come home and deal with the hot water heater, so I didn't really.
Yeah, and I did not realize that your water heater was in your attic. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah,
dude.
It's in my attic. It's not my attic anymore, though.
Right.
The guys came out and hooked me up yesterday, and now it's in my garage. So next time it leaks, I won't have a wet ceiling. So that's a positive.
Oh,
because I have a 2-story house. It had leaked into the ceilings on both floors.
Oh shit!
So that was fun.
Water heater leaks are no fun at all. So
yeah, I don't know why. Like this is the second house I've owned, and both of them the water heater was in the attic. I don't know why they do that. The only thing I can think is they do it to save space, right? It takes up space, and so in the attic,
and maybe because it's warmer and it keeps them from maybe like freezing up the lines.
Well, no, not really, because it's hotter. Well, it's hotter in the summertime, but it's colder in the wintertime in the attic. So, yeah, I think it's purely
honestly, I've never seen a house that had the water heater in the attic.
Oh yeah,
never seen one.
My part of the country,
that's pretty,
wow. That's pretty normal.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I think it's just a space thing. They want to maximize the available space. Why they don't put them in the garage, I don't know. Like that's where it should go.
Yeah, you told me that, and I was like, "Well, that's freaking weird. I've never heard of that before." But
yeah.
Oh well.
So I didn't get to see a lot of games, so.
And I didn't either. I had to work this past weekend, so I didn't get to see very much, if any.
I did watch last night. I watched the Utah game, and their defense looks impressive.
Yeah, Clark Phillips and another guy, the linebacker from Washington State,
Henley.
No,
Henley.
Nope, the other one.
Oh man, I don't know.
With the funky name, he had a sack last night.
Like Mafisi or something.
Yeah, that's a guy that I mentioned a few weeks ago on one of my IDP Devy portfolio articles to pick up. Sophomore, I think he's going to be a good guy for the future. Probably somebody you should look at picking up. See, and that's one thing where, you know how I am, Justice. I go down rabbit holes here. So we're week 8, week 9 now in college. We're nearing the end, right? We're in the back third of the season before the playoffs. So now's the time, and this is something that I do, but now's the time. You know what your team is, right? You know exactly where you stand. You know if you're a contender. You know if you're not. There's no pretenders to it. You either are or you ain't, right?
Yeah.
So now's the time, and I do the same thing with the NFL once that season gets a little later. But I look at my teams and say, okay, what am I? Do I have a shot at winning this thing? Am I a piece away? Whatever. If I feel like I am, then I'm making moves to try to, lack of a better term, chips all in, right? You're trying to make that run. If I'm not, I'm looking at young pieces like the linebacker from Washington State. I forget his name, the weird name. But he's a sophomore, right?
Is it in like MJ Tafisi? Is that am I thinking right?
Something like that. So I'm looking for young pieces that are going to help me next year, right? They're doing pretty good as sophomores or freshmen. I can have longer control of them multiple years. Am I losing positions to the NFL side? That's where I'm attacking. If I'm not a contender, I'm trying to load up on those type of players. I'm setting the table for next season now. I'm getting ready.
Yeah.
Do you do the same thing, or do you just
absolutely? I mean, I think that you're either buying or selling, you know.
Right.
And
if you're trying to stay pat, you're doing it all wrong.
Well, I mean,
I
guess it depends.
Well, I mean, I think you are, because if you're
in leagues where I'm quote staying put, I may be trying to. I also might be looking ahead to next year and saying, "Hey, man, like maybe I should add this quarterback, or I should add this, defensive lineman if I can make room somehow." So while I might not be like quote trading for someone, I might be doing it through the waiver wire, thinking ahead to next year.
Right.
I mean, and that's rare, right? I mean, there aren't. I'd say the only league where I feel like I don't need to add anything per se is our listener league. The other leagues, I have been trying to trade unsuccessfully, but I've at least attempted, right?
Right.
Especially on the NFL side, I had with the Breece Hall injury that really hurt me. So I tried to make some moves, but I was not successful. But that just tells me to start going the other way, right? I can't make the moves I need to be in contention. So now just go the other way with it.
Exactly. Kind of looking ahead at week 9. We talked about the 2 games tonight, not anything to really discuss. There's a lot of teams on buys this week, which is hurting a lot of fantasy managers, including myself. But we open up tomorrow right out the gate. Number 2 Ohio State versus 13 Penn State. Big game on noon, right? That's the big Fox noon game. You got Notre Dame at Syracuse. I think there'll be some eyes on that. As far as top 25 matchups, the Ohio State Penn State, you've got Oklahoma State, Kansas State at 3:30. You have Kentucky 19 versus Tennessee 3 tomorrow night. I expect everybody to be wearing orange and raising hell. If not, I don't want to talk to you. And then really that is it. As far as top 25 matchups, now there's a couple other games. 15 Ole Miss versus Texas A&M. I think that could be a good game. We've got Pittsburgh at North Carolina, who's ranked 21st. That could be decent. I think there's a few unranked games that are going to be good. We were joking earlier, but I truly and you're going to laugh. I think the Northwestern Iowa game is going to be a barn burner. I mean, defensively, that's the game you're looking at, right?
Yeah. It's like you said, first 1 to 6 might win.
Yeah, the first one, hell, now that I think about it, the first one that can get a damn safety and a field goal might win. 5 points might win that thing. Me, I know a lot of people hate those games, right? They want the 48,
Everybody wants
40
offense.
shootouts. Yeah, they do. But you know what? I don't hate these 6-2 ball games, 7-3, because that tells me if I've got players on those teams, there's a good chance my IDP players are doing something, right?
Yeah.
So I look at those games a lot different. Plus I'm defense at heart. I always have been back when I played in high school and all that stuff. I'll take a freaking 6-3 game over a freaking 48-40 game any day of the week in IDP. I just watch it. I like watching. Who was it? Georgia Clemson a few years ago, last year, that played real close.
Year, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Alabama LSU game a few years ago when I think it was 6-3. Those games I'm in, right? Because that's really where the chess pieces come in. It's one thing to where you can just score at will and there's no defense being played, but when those defenses lock in and you're making those offenses try to work, try to do something, you're making them, they're not on their scheduled script. They're not on their scheduled game plan because at 6-3, nothing they're doing is working. So they've already trashed their freaking 15 plays and what works. They're digging deep in the playbook, trick plays and all that shit. So, yeah, I do. I really enjoy those games.
A couple more things I noticed about the Utah game last night was, so they started at linebacker. They started Lander Barton, who was, I think is either a 5-star or a very high 4-star. He's a freshman.
5-star, I believe.
And he didn't look. He looked okay for a freshman.
Right.
Another guy who started, who I added in a couple leagues, was Corinne Reed, who's a sophomore. He had a pretty decent game, and then they started Mahmoud Diabate, the transfer from Florida, and he had a pretty disappointing season, but he actually had a pretty good game last night. He had 1 sack, had a couple tackles. The other thing to note, R.J. Hubert last night, he had a great game, and then he got called for targeting, I think, maybe midway through the third quarter. So if you have him on a roster, note that next week he will miss the first half of the game. So you might want to keep that in mind if you're starting him next week. But he was having a pretty good game until he got ejected for the targeting.
Yeah. How did Clark Phillips look? Like I said, I worked kind of late.
He looked pretty good. He played pretty good. Him and Hubert were probably the two defensive backs that looked the best.
Phillips is going to be a first-round pick this year.
I don't remember them calling Bishop's name too much, who's another highly touted guy they got there.
Right. I think the more that I watch Phillips, and like I said, I didn't get to watch it last night, but I will at some point. I'll go back and watch it. I think he's going to be a top 15 pick, especially the way the last 2-3 years that we've seen defensive backs, corners especially, go in the top 15.
Yep.
I think he's easily going to be a top 15 pick and probably one of the best corners we've seen in a while. I think he's just so damn good athletically, mentally, and he takes what he sees film-wise, what he's seeing on the field. I mean, you can see him break stuff down. I mean, he don't miss very often. So, I'm really into him.
Joey Porter's another one too, I think, from Penn State.
Oh, Penn State. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, completely agree with that. And then we have a listener question, right?
We do.
From our good buddy. Well, before we get to our listener question, we want to thank MFL.com for hosting all of our listener leagues, IDP Nation and the Devy IDP Grind side. On their platform, they let us have those free of charge to help us out as long as we promote them. And I'm a firm believer, you get what you pay for, right? Tools, appliances, cars, whatever the case may be. Yeah, it might cost a little more, but it's worth it.
If you're playing an IDP league, I know a lot of people like Sleeper, but MFL is the way to go.
Yep, I agree. Everything I have is on MFL. I do have a couple, 2 or 3 on Sleeper, but they're free. and it's just to have that experience because they operate a little different. So, and I have one on Yahoo and those things for the experience of it. But yeah, MFL is the premier site if you want to play IDP. So many things you can do, customizable. Yeah. So, and we thank them so much for comping us on these leagues and letting us do these for free. And then Fantrax, you know, we talk a lot about them, but right now they are the game when it comes to college, right? Especially IDP college. You know, for all their downfalls, they are continuing to put this out there for us to have this, right?
At least they give us something like that, right, to manage. We can at least manage rosters with it, right? So
right. So we thank them for that. I know we bash them a lot, but we thank them for at least giving us a platform to be able to do this.
One thing about Fantrax, real quick, that people say, like we talked about before, is you'll see tackles on there, and they have them on there. But I'm going to tell you right now, they are not correct.
They're not correct, but at least it does.
Right. It has something. It gives you something.
Update. Breaking news. Well, I'm going to say breaking news. Liberty and Hugh Freeze agree to an 8-year extension.
Yeah, it's like a little $5 million, almost $5 million a year.
Wow. I did not see that coming. Because I thought he would be a guy that would want to look to get back to the SEC, right?
Or why would he? If he's gonna get paid there, why? Right? You don't have to.
Well, that's true. And Liberty makes a lot of money. We talked about this last week. They make a lot of money, so good for him, though. And I think that's good for Liberty too, right?
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to get a much better coach than what they're getting out of him down there. So, sorry, I seen that come across the screen as I was watching, so I thought that was worth noting. But yeah, thank MFL. We thanked Action 24/7, and let's also thank TrophySmack.com. I know Justice has got them at the ready. He's probably already got them on his fingers. TrophySmack.com. Plaques, trophies, rings, belts, you name it, they've got it. High quality stuff. You see the packaging there. Nice quality, heavy rings. Everything they do is just exceptional. Lots of bling. Oh, and Justice just dropped it.
I just dropped it.
Oh my God, no. Anyway, high quality stuff.
They're very heavy. They're good quality.
And when he picks it up, he will show you that it's not broken, so you know the quality's good.
It's not broken.
No. See, there it is. So good quality stuff. You can be like Justice and just throw it all around the room and don't care about it, and it'll still stand up to your to all your faults. But man, they have so much good stuff. Yeah, so much good stuff. And he won 2 of them last year. He should have only won 1. I don't know how he cheated on the NFL side. That's still under investigation, but no, he won 2 of them last year. So good stuff, high quality stuff. If you need something for baseball, basketball, football, whatever your fantasy league, racing, golf, I don't care what it is.
And they have like the wrestling belts too, the wrestling championship. Those are pretty cool.
Belts are freaking amazing.
They're awesome.
Those belts are just, it makes me want to leg drop somebody right now, Hollywood Hogan style. Go check them out. They do all the engraving. They do customizable stuff. You can do their clip art, or if you have an image that you want, you can upload it on their site and they can get that loaded up on a belt for you. It's the stuff they're doing over there right now is amazing. So check them out on Twitter at TrophySmack.com. You can check them out at TrophySmack.com on the World Wide Web, or you can go to IDPNation.com webpage and go to sponsors, or scroll to the very bottom. There's a link down there, and you can get a special discount through us. We get a little kickback off that. It helps us, and you can get a cheaper price. So go check them out there. And they've even got stuff for losers. So if you've got something you want to embarrass one of your losers or you want to commemorate them, hey, they got you there too. So go check them out. We thank them for being a sponsor. They've been nice to us. They donate the rings and stuff for our listener leagues. So we're really glad that they do that, and we thank them very much. So now our listener question. Canucker 49 by Junior. Are there any players that appear to be actively pacing themselves / preserving their bodies before they declare for the 2023 NFL Draft? Oklahoma State, Brandon Evers. We
right. That's the obvious one.
Sitting out the rest of the season. We kind of touched on this earlier, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why I have such a problem with this, Justice. It pisses me off. It really does. I mean, if we're on a team and you said, hey, Hollywood, I've got an NFL future to look forward to. I don't think I'm going to play this season. I'm going to focus on NFL. I would kind of be upset, right? But I would get it. But for you to come out and say, let's roll, and we're playing 8-9 games into the season, you're like, well, I'm going to get ready for the draft. See you, boys.
Right.
I just have a freaking problem with that. I kind of get it if you're a superstar that's got a lot of money, but like you said, take out an insurance policy, whatever. But I don't know. I have a problem with leaving mid-season or late in the season. It just sets me on fire. I can't.
and I was trying to think of guys that I thought might meet this. Like, I can't think of a single player where I've watched them and said, oh, he's loafing on purpose, or I can't. I honestly can say I have not seen that in anybody. Now, the best example I can think of for maybe, but I don't think it's purposeful, is the Clemson defensive line. They just rotate so much, right? That
right.
Maybe maybe you could say some of those guys, but again, I would definitely say it's not purposeful. I think they just rotate so many linemen that it makes it seem that way. Maybe. I mean, I just can't off the top of my head. I couldn't. He gave this question to us on Monday, and for the life of me, I can't really think of it other than the Brendan Evers example. I can't really think of a guy that is purposefully doing it.
Yeah, and I don't think that any of them purposely do it. I don't think.
Well, I mean, for example, on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, I think Zach Evans, the running back for Ole Miss, I think he made it known that he didn't want a lot of carries because he wanted to preserve his body for the NFL. But he made that known up front. Right. I cannot think of an example of that on the IDP side. I mean, certainly there are guys that aren't having maybe the year you would expect, like a Will Anderson, maybe. Like you said, Foskey, Andre Carter at Army, right? He's not having the year that you would expect,
right?
Given what he did last year. But I don't necessarily think any of that means that they are purposely preserving themselves.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, if that's the case, they could be hurting their draft stock by not having a good year. I mean, obviously, someone like a Will Anderson, that's a moot point. But some of the, like Andre Carter, maybe it's affecting his draft stock.
And I agree. And I think where I have so much issue with it, if you think back, Nick Bosa, McCaffrey, and Fournette, right? Nick Bosa got hurt, had a core body injury, and he kind of shut it down and just said, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm leaving anyway. I'm just going to go ahead and focus and get myself ready for the combine. I kind of get that. I understand. That's an injury thing. The two that really upset me and pissed me off was McCaffrey and Fournette, right? They played all season long, played the entire season. And then when it came bowl time, they were like, I'm not going to play the bowl game. That's not fair to your team. not fair to your teammates. That's being selfish right there. Clearly selfish. You're not hurt. You're not injured. You don't have any personal injuries or personal issues off the field that's keeping you from playing. It was strictly, quote unquote, a business decision in your mind. I'm not playing because I don't want to get hurt in the last game of the year and cost myself millions. Well, that's what they make the insurance policies for.
Well, and it happened a lot last year, right? I mean,
it did, but still, that to me, that just chaps my ass, because you're going to fight 12, 13 games with your teammates all year, and then you're just going to peace at them on the bowl game. I have an issue with that. I would never. If I was, even if I knew I was a Will Anderson and I had fought all season with my teammates, I'm not going to leave them hanging to dry and chance to miss a bowl game or miss a college playoff game win. I'm just not going to leave them hanging out to dry like that. It's just not how I'm wired. To me, that's just wrong. Just wrong. And I like McCaffrey. I like Fournette, but that just did not set well with me.
I think,
and to me, if I'm and I'll go a step further, if I'm an NFL owner or an NFL coaching staff, and let's say we've got a couple players that are we can't decide, right? We don't know. 1A, 1B. And this guy might run just a tick faster, and this guy might run just a little bit harder, and this guy might score just a couple more touchdowns, but this guy's going to get you know what I'm saying? They're so close.
It could be that.
And then you're looking for the intangible stuff. Well, this guy, he didn't want to play a bowl game. To me, I'm going to look at the guy that said, oh, well, this guy might not have had a good a team as this guy, but he played the bowl game. This guy had a better team, and he missed the bowl game. To me, that's a little selfishness. That's a little less team inclusive, right? So maybe for me, and hey, maybe I'm wrong. For me, that could very well be something, especially in NFL. What are you going to do if we come out, if you're a high draft pick, what are you going to do if we come out here and we lose the first 6 games in a row? Are you just going to give up on us too?
Right.
I mean, that's my thought process. I told you this was a rabbit hole, touchy subject. I just don't like it.
Well, and I think, as we said earlier, as the season progresses, it's going to happen more and more. More and more people are going to come out and say.
I think you're right, but I also think there's a deterrent on the way too. With the college football expansion.
Oh, with the football, yes. Oh yeah.
So now, right now we've only got 4 teams, and a lot of players are thinking, well, my team's not in the top 4. I'm out, right? Now you got 12. Now you've got a little more incentive because you still got some underdogs that can make it. And so I think maybe we'll see a tick up, like you said, but I think once the playoff expands, I think you'll see that slide down. But I still think that will be something we have to deal with. And I don't blame Bosa because he had the injury or whatever. And I don't blame the other guys either. I really don't. But to me, that just that irks me so bad. So
some sad breaking news. Vince Dooley passed away.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Wow.
He was Georgia's winningest football coach with 201 victories, 6 SEC titles, and he won the 1980 national championship.
It's a damn shame he couldn't pass some of that on to his son, Derek Dooley.
He was 90 years old.
Wow, 90 years. I couldn't even imagine living that old. I'll be long gone before I hit 90.
Yeah, I hope I make it to 90, right?
I told my wife the other day, I said, I hope if I die young, I hope it's quick and easy, or I want to live to be the oldest bastard there is on earth. Get off my grass.
Yeah.
90 years, though, that's a long time, man. That's
it
a long
is.
time. Can you imagine that? 90 years, and think about what he's seen, how college football's changed in those 90 years.
Changed a whole lot, right? I mean,
yeah.
Well, some things have changed a whole lot, I guess. Offense has changed
there's a lot of right, but I imagine there's a lot of things. If he sat down and wrote a book about it, from like the time he started coaching till he quit, and he's been out of coaching for a long time. So now think about just from the time he quit, ended coaching to his passing away here. That's crazy, but yeah, Dooley was a good coach, probably the best coach Georgia's ever had, I would imagine.
Yeah, maybe Kirby will get there, but yeah.
Well, maybe he won't. Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully in 2 Saturdays we put an ass of whooping on him like he ain't seen in a while.
I hope so too.
Hey, you thought I was crazy when we beat Alabama. Let us beat Georgia this year and see what happens. Shoot. Boy, I'll be burning the Twitter world down.
I mean, I certainly hope you do it. Speaking of sitting out, I wonder. Let's say you guys. Let's assume Alabama doesn't make the playoffs. I wonder how many.
Put this pressure on me, Ricky Bobby.
Well, no, I'm assuming one. I'm wondering how many of Alabama guys are going to, like Will Anderson, are they going to sit out? You know, because they're just in a regular bowl game.
I hope not. I really hope not.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see.
They've got some young guys too. So I don't know.
Bama's always in the playoffs. So
yeah, and they still could be. They're
still
not out of it yet.
Oh no! They're going to win the West. So they're going to have.
Yes.
I think to knock them out, they're going to have to lose in the championship game to either Tennessee or Georgia.
Let me look real quick because this is Alabama football schedule, because I want to see. I feel like we talked about this a little bit last week. So 2022 schedule. Let's see who they got. Okay, so they have starting. Oh, so they're off this week. They're on a bye.
Yeah, Alabama.
So starting next week, they have LSU at LSU. They have Ole Miss, who's currently undefeated, at Ole Miss. So that could be a big game. Then they have a homecoming game against Austin Peay. And then they have the Iron Bowl against Auburn at home. These three SEC games are no slouches. They always play LSU tough, right? That's always a tough game. I think LSU's gotten a little bit better, especially since Tennessee beat them. They've gotten better. Ole Miss is undefeated. That could be a big game. And then Auburn, we've seen year after year how close that game is, despite how bad one team or the other is. That's a rivalry game. So I still think Alabama's clearly the better. I think Alabama runs the table. I really do. Which puts them with one loss as the SEC West winner. That puts them in the SEC championship game. And if that's the mindset, if that's what happens, and I think most people would probably agree on that, if Tennessee gets by Kentucky tonight or tomorrow night, a week from tomorrow night, Georgia, Tennessee, that's going to be the game of the year right there.
Yeah.
Can that Georgia defense slow down Tennessee's offense? That's it. That's it. Offense versus defense. High-powered versus freaking big guns on defense. The winner's probably out. Or the loser's probably out.
Yeah.
Because I think that falls into Alabama's favor, right? Can they get revenge on Georgia from a year ago? Or can they get revenge on Tennessee from earlier this year, right? For Tennessee, that's going to be hard to beat Alabama. That's hard for anybody to beat Alabama twice in 1 year.
Yeah.
So while Alabama's on the outside looking in, they have a chance here. They still control their own destiny. Even with one loss, I think they would get in over an undefeated team if it come down to it. Because you got to remember, Ohio State, Michigan plays each other still too.
Yeah, I think a key for the Tennessee against Georgia if they don't beat Georgia, then it needs to be a close game.
Yeah, they can't get blowed out.
Because if they get blown out and then Alabama barely loses to Georgia in the championship,
Right.
Alabama's going to get in over them. It's got to be a close game against
And
Georgia.
I don't know what it is. I don't feel we'll get blown out if we lose. I could see it being. I could see it being 8-12 if we lose, somewhere in that range. But I don't see us getting beat 20, 30 points.
Yeah.
Now, is an 8 to 12 point loss enough to keep us in it? Because then you're going to have two teams. Well, no. If Tennessee loses to Georgia, and that's our one loss, let's say, Georgia's in the SEC, then they play Bama. The only way it becomes a factor is if Bama beats Georgia. Then you've got – because if Georgia if Alabama beats Georgia, Alabama's in. The Ohio State, Michigan State winner's in. So that's 2 spots. Then becomes the question.
The SEC is getting 2 teams in no matter what.
Well, that's my question. Do you take a Georgia team that lost to Bama and put them in? Or do you take a Tennessee?
Yeah.
Right. Or do you take a Tennessee team? Well, if Georgia beats, or do you take a Tennessee team that beat Bama but lost to Georgia? So it's a 3-way tie is basically what you're doing.
Yeah. I mean, they could all end up with 1 loss, right? Yeah. Bama, Tennessee, and Georgia could all end up with 1 loss.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think for that to play out,
if Georgia beats Tennessee and Bama beats Georgia, Tennessee's the odd team out. I hate to say it, but they're the odd team out because I think you look at, Georgia beat Tennessee. They made the championship game. Bama lost to Tennessee.
But they won the championship game.
But they won it. I think Georgia, Bama's
Tennessee. It's probably going to, unless the only way it's going to be both Georgia and Tennessee is that if whoever makes it to the championship game beats Alabama. That's the only way both Tennessee and Georgia are getting in.
Yes, and I think it would help if Clemson lost too, because then you're taking an undefeated team off the table. Because Ohio State, Michigan, one of them is going to lose. So if you take 2 teams undefeated off, Ohio State, Michigan,
Clemson. I'm assuming 1 spot goes to Clemson, 1 spot goes to the Ohio State, Michigan winner, and the other 2 are going to be
SEC 2
SECs.
SECs. Yep, I agree.
And so,
but if you can get Clemson to lose, and you can, then that changes things.
Yeah, I don't see you getting 3 SEC though, man. I mean, that would be tough. If
Clemson loses, who you going to?
Ooh, I don't know. I could see. I mean, maybe Oregon. Maybe.
No way. Not after Georgia freaking dismantled them. No way.
Well, but I just don't see them.
If Tennessee plays Georgia within 10 points, there's no way Oregon gets in. A 1-loss Oregon to Georgia and a 1-loss Tennessee to Georgia, and Tennessee is 10 points or less. No way. You're insane.
I'm not. I don't fundamentally disagree with you. I just think it's gonna be hard for them to put 3 SEC teams in.
No, it ain't hard at all. Facts are facts.
Well,
if you put a 1-loss Oregon to Georgia and a 1-loss Tennessee to Georgia that played, let's say, 10 points or less.
Tennessee's better, hands down.
Yeah, but if you put an Oregon team in over them, then this shit's rigged from the beginning. And I don't believe in shit like that, but
yeah, it's
how are you going to keep and this has, you put Georgia in, you put Bama in, you put, let's say, Ohio State. There's your 3. Michigan lost, they're probably out.
I just don't see. I don't see Clemson losing though. I don't see that happening.
I'm just saying if they do.
Maybe
nobody has a better resume than Tennessee because of the ranked teams that they've.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, 100% agree. I mean,
now with that said, I expect us fully
a
to
one-loss
get shafted
Tennessee
and not
team.
make this, but
A one-loss Tennessee team's better than Clemson anyway. So
a one-loss Tennessee team is better than a
undefeated
any team.
Well, I don't know about any
Clemson,
team, but they're better than
any team
undefeated
outside
Clemson.
the SEC. They're better than Clemson.
Well, for sure. Well,
They're-
maybe if Ohio, maybe not Ohio State. Maybe not Ohio State. Michigan,
maybe not Michigan. Michigan would be I would put Michigan closer to Tennessee than frickin' Clemson or frickin' Oregon or TCU.
Oh yeah,
or any of
yeah,
these other
yeah,
posers.
yeah. That's true. That's true. For sure.
You about to get me fired up. It's not going to be good for these Wildcat fans when we hit the end button here and I have to go back to my DMs and fire their freaking asses up.
I say I'm just warming you up for the weekend for the
Oh yeah.
Tennessee
I'm warm, baby. I'm smoldering right now, but I'm about to be lit. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You don't understand the hatred between Kentucky and Tennessee. Oh yeah. I wished I may have to screenshot some shit for you in some private DMs. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There has been bodily harmed said. Yes. What? Come on down. You're the next contestant on Hollywood is Right, baby. Come on. That's right. That's right. Shoot, I'm like Bob Barker. I'll knock your ass out. See, this is your fault. See, Choppy's not here to restrain me back a little bit. You just let me go. This is your fault.
It's not my fault.
Anyway, we thank you for listening. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, Podbean,
YouTube,
Stitcher, iHeart, YouTube. Yes, help us out on YouTube. Please subscribe. iHeartRadio. Check us out at Devy IDP Grind. Give us a follow. Spread the word. If you've got any questions, hit us up at Devy IDP Grind, at Justice_23, at Hollywood Titan, at Choppin _KC. Yes, I got it. And I got House of Pain playing in my ear. I'm about to lock some Wildcat fans' asses up here in a minute. This is happening. Anyway, please subscribe, rate, and review. Help us out. The more followers, 5-star reviews. You can also go over to idpnation.com. There's a review tab. Leave a review, right? We appreciate it. Helps us grow, helps us expand to a bigger audience, all that good stuff. Check us out on Patreon. We're doing some stuff over there. I'm trying to get Justice set up. By the way, I did try to get you set up, Justice. I had to apply for the teams thing, so I'm waiting to hear back on that. So hopefully I can get Justice on board. He can start writing a little bit of stuff if he wishes there too. So check us out. A lot of good IDP Devy stuff there. Go Vols. Go Monarchs. Go Huskers. Go Huskers. Yeah. Bless his little heart. Go Huskers. Help him out. Give him a follow. He needs a
Go
pick.
Chiefs.
Help
Go
him
Chiefs.
out.
How about that one? Go Chiefs.
Go Chiefs. Go Chiefs. These Chiefs are all right. But thanks everybody for listening. Sorry we was a little late this week. We'll be back. Right now we're scheduled to be back Monday. I know it's Halloween.
Probably,
it might be
probably late Monday night.
Yeah, it'll be late Monday. I'm doing some trunk or treat. No, I'm not dressing up, stealing kids' candy. I'm giving out candy.
Yeah,
Although piss me off.
This year I bought a lot of candy because I ran out of candy last year, and so
really?
watch this. Yeah, I did. This year I'm going to have a lot leftover. I have a feeling, but
we don't hardly get any trick or treaters here. So I'm
it
doing.
Seems to be hit or miss. I either have. I mean, I live in a neighborhood, but
right.
I either have a whole lot or I don't have many at all.
Right. So I'm working that night, and our Keurig Dr. Pepper is doing who I work for. They're doing a trunk or treat at the plant. So some of the employees and their families, we're all going to set up and do the trunk or treat thing. So after we get off work, we're going to do that. And I wish I could find like one of those T-shirt launchers,
Oh yeah.
I wish they had like a candy launcher. I'd load that sucker up and I'd be like, just saying. Anyway, thanks for listening. We'll be back next week. Later. Jump, 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 jump.